p.m. for Miss Sarah's Dynamic Gospel Power Show. That's 2 hours of great gospel music every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m., all brought to you by the Ozona Pig Restaurant in Ozona. Yes, that's every Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. It's Miss Sarah's Dynamic Gospel Power Show. Tune in on the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Carrie Harrison with you, inviting you to join me each Friday afternoon at 5 o'clock for Reboot Your Life, where we teach you how to get back the life you love. We not only open our Hollywood Recovery Rolodex, but we bring on the best of the best in coaches, doctors, and therapists just for you. All this is made possible by Riverside Recovery of Tampa, the go-to place when our veterans need recovery help. You can learn more at rrtampa.com, 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 and join me Fridays at 5 for Reboot Your Life.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
It's now time for Connecting Caregivers with author, speaker, caregiver advocate, and talk show host Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for caregivers.
Caregivers around the world today, it's time to lift you up. It's time to celebrate. Good afternoon and welcome to Connecting Caregivers with me, Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers with love, laughter, and lessons learned. On the show where you can find help and hope. And with me, as always, is my best friend, as mostly always, is my best friend, my co-host, and my sidekick, not psychic, Lynn Thorley.
Good afternoon. Nice to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. And we have a guest in the show, which you're going to speak to on the second half of the Didier Malagies.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about reverse mortgages on the second half of the show, so please stay with us. And I think Ed's on the phone with somebody right now. So what I want to do is I want to give a shout out to our newest listeners. We have Janine in St. Pete. We have Brandy in Dunedin, and we have Sheila in Seminole.
Welcome, ladies.
Like I say, there's always plenty of room around the Connecting Caregivers table for new listeners, whether you listen when we're live or on YouTube or on Facebook, or you listen to the recordings. I know how busy your day is, caregivers. Do I have time to sit in here and listen to some radio show or whatever? The good thing is everything's recorded. So you can listen to it whenever you want, or you can share it. Like I was just saying to Didier at the beginning of the show, we're going to be talking about reverse mortgages. Well, I could get a call from a caregiver 3 weeks from now saying, do you know anything about reverse mortgages, Linda? And I can just send her the link from the show and she can see it live. So that's a really good thing, a really good thing. So hi, Ed. Sorry to hear you had a little accident this week.
Yeah, I'm still alive.
Still here.
Still alive.
Still here, hanging in there. I'm glad you're here.
Thanks.
Yeah, watch out for motorcycle people because you don't pay attention.
People. I mean, she didn't hit me. She would hit the people walking across in the crosswalk.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
The worst part about motorcycles is the rest of the public do not know how to treat them, that they're in a vehicle. They cut them off. They have to train the drivers of cars about motorcycles.
Yeah. But we're glad you're here today, Ed. Also in the studio, we have my stepmother, Heidi McCauley, is here sitting on the sidelines because she's always my inspiration for so many different things. So I'm so glad that you're here today. We've had a fabulous week.
Busy week, you girls.
It's been a really great week. And I'll tell you one thing. Heidi and I went to meet with Attorney Sean Scott the other day because she had to get some papers in order that we've both been thinking about and neglecting. You know how we do that? And she brought in her papers, and Sean said, "You know what I think about these papers? POS. Piece of shit." I mean, one of the things that the person...
I'm afraid to show mine.
The person put the notary stamp on it, but never signed it. There was a date of 2012 and then a date of 2013. So he took very good care of us.
He's a nice man.
He was absolutely fabulous. And we left with all our documents right then. It wasn't And peace of mind, yeah.
Left with peace of mind.
And peace of mind.
Yeah.
So right before we came to the shows, Heidi made a big spaghetti cake last night. We brought it over to all his staff. Nice. We went to Mazzaro's yesterday and got a bunch of special cheeses. So it was all good. It was all really good. Is our caller on the line yet, Ed? Okay. We have a caller coming in a little bit.
And you went to Oyster Catchers too.
Yeah, I went to Oyster Catchers for Mother's Day. I went to Jimmy's Sushi the other day. I've been having a good week.
Oh, I can see that.
I'm not complaining. I went to Amici's.
That's right. And we're going out after.
Yeah, we'll be at O'Keefe's. Yeah, it's all good. It's all good. So I wanted to recap again the conference. So our conference was May 7th, 8th, and 9th. We had over 1,000 participants. You will be receiving, anyone who registered, you will receive all the videos of the conference this week. So you can watch them at your leisure, or you can share with your sister, or sometimes somebody comes to a conference and there's a topic there and they go, that doesn't have nothing to do with me, but 3 months down the road it does. So you'll be receiving all of those this week. Thank you to our sponsors who sponsor the conference and make everything free for the caregivers. So do we have Sarah on the line?
Yes, you do. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. How are you today?
I'm okay, thank you. How are you?
Joyful and grateful.
Good.
So
thank you, Linda. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you.
I'm so glad you're here. I've been reading through your book on my way back to you, and I'm going to let you tell us about that in a few minutes. But before we go into that, I love the section in the book, the different sections where you have someone reflecting.
Thank you.
I've never seen anything like that, and I think it's absolutely fabulous.
Thank you. That was actually I have to give credit to Glenn Plaskin, who was helped me at the end with ghostwriting stuff, and he said, "Here's what's missing."
And you know what it is? We all need helpers. You know, people think, you just write a book by yourself. No. You know, I remember when I wrote my first book and I was going to New York and my editor sent me some pages and I printed them out on the computer and there was red marks on them. It was like red. And I was like, oh my God. I was at Heidi's in Manhattan and I said, okay, I need to have a glass of wine first. And I had a glass of wine. And then I called her and I said, oh, those red marks. And she said, Linda, the girl is beautiful. I'm just taking her to the salon and polishing her up. And I was like, you know how to work with me.
Yeah.
You know, and there was one sentence I never liked the way.
That's a lovely way of putting it.
Yeah, there was one sentence I never liked. What?
Did she get the wine stains out?
But there was one line in the book that I never just felt a little quirky to me, and she made it beautiful. That's awesome. So Sarah, what made you write a memoir about this most difficult time in your life, and explain what the difficult time was so our listeners know what we're talking about?
Well, the difficult time was my husband was diagnosed with an autoimmune issue in 2017, and my role as caregiver began really slowly and innocently. Like I didn't even realize that's what was happening.
Sneaks up on
but
you.
Lynn said it sneaks up on you.
It really did. It really did. And one day I woke up and realized that I was the one who was driving every time we went to the doctor's office, and I was the one who was taking all the notes and going to the drugstore and getting the new meds and figuring out how to fit them into the schedule, all those kinds of things.
And getting gas. I ran out of gas. I thought my gas was never ending. I'd never filled it before.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Learning that light in the dashboard actually means something.
Yeah.
They're not going to call you and say, hey, by the way, you should get your oil changed.
Well, I have to tell you, after my husband passed away, when I had to get my first set of new tires, I was angry as heck because I knew nothing about them.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, his autoimmune progressed through different organs in his body and finally got to his heart. And the culminating episode was that we knew he needed a heart transplant. We had been trying to get him on the list. And 2 weeks after the world was shut down by the COVID pandemic, he went into kidney failure and was admitted into the hospital. And I didn't see him for 10 weeks. And we had not gotten him on the list yet.
Oh my God.
So, he ended up getting on the list. He was then so unstable, they took him off the list, but fortunately he got back on the list, and he got a heart transplant by the grace of God. And
how old was he?
A week after that, 60.
61. Okay.
And so a week after the heart transplant, things were already not going very well. And I mean, they were going so much better than they'd been going a month before the transplant. But his recovery was not progressing the way we had been told to expect. And someone said to me, one of the radiologists, that has anyone mentioned this broken left hip?
Oh my
What?
God.
Yeah, his broken left hip, which meant that when he did finally come home after 10 weeks away, he was in a wheelchair and dependent on painkillers. And now he was mine, all mine.
Yeah.
He went from having a team of doctors and nurses and nutritionists and janitors and people delivering 3 hot meals a day to just me. And since it was COVID, I couldn't bring in much help. We were supposed to have home health care visits once a day, and we were down in the Keys, and it was COVID. Things were just crazy. That did not come through quite the way it was supposed to.
It was COVID.
It was COVID. So, but we got through it. And the reason I wrote the book, after all was said and done, was that it was a way to process everything that we'd been through. How terribly out of control everything had been, how he had nearly died. It's a life and death love story, and we ended up with a happy ending, which is just a total miracle.
Thank you, God.
Yeah, God bless you.
Yeah. And you know what?
Yeah.
I think for a lot of people, writing a book is a healing process. You know,
Absolutely.
how I got into this business, I was caring for my mom, and 3 weeks before she died, I moved in with her. And I tucked her into bed one night, and she said to me, "Good night and God bless," which she said my whole life. And I thought that was going to be the last time I was going to hear it. And I prayed in her living room that night, "God, please give me a little bit longer." And she woke up the next morning.
And that's the name of your book.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
So I started writing Good Night and God Bless, and I wrote through the last 3 weeks of her life in my grieving process, and then I reconstructed our adventures from our journals. But it was a healing thing. It definitely was a healing thing for me.
Yeah, and for me, I have always been a perfectionist, and so
that's tough then.
Yeah, so there were a lot of moments where I had to realize that perfect is the enemy of in his case, survival.
Yeah.
And to go back and realize that if we had known about his broken hip, which happened probably 4 days before he ended up in the hospital with kidney failure, he was sleeping so badly that he went to use the bathroom in the middle of the night and fell asleep walking the 15 steps back to the bed. Actually, he wasn't sleeping on the bed. He was sleeping on the couch in the living room, so I never heard him, and he didn't say anything about going over like a tree in the night. I just noticed a couple days later that he was popping ibuprofen like they were jelly beans. And that was the last we thought of that because we were dealing with so many other fires.
Right.
But the perfectionist in me, it kills me that I didn't know that he was so injured. And yet, if I had, he wouldn't have been on the transplant list.
God works in strange ways.
My mind.
God works in
very
strange ways. Yeah.
And if it hadn't been COVID, he probably wouldn't have gotten a transplant. We forget that in those early days of the pandemic, tests were taking 4 to 5 days to get results after they scratch your brain with a Q-tip.
Right.
And so the only people being taken into the OR were people who were dying either because they'd been in a car crash or a gunshot wound, or they were already in the hospital dying because of some sort of organ failure.
Yeah.
So he was in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, like I say, God works in strange ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what advice do you have for other family caregivers who find themselves having similar experiences to what you had?
It's a steep learning curve. Don't expect yourself to get it right.
There is no real right.
Yourself. There is no real right. Sometimes you have to take it day by day. Sometimes you have to take it hour by hour and just work toward whatever the best thing is for the situation at that moment. Be gentle with yourself, kind and supportive and forgiving.
And you know what?
When people ask how things are...
Go ahead.
No, I was just going... When people ask how things are going, don't exaggerate or sugarcoat it because you don't want to have to walk things back when circumstances change. Don't hide behind barriers be cautiously open about your vulnerabilities and gracious and accepting of people's attempts to reach out, because they don't quite know what to do for you. There can be awkward moments. Just appreciate that they're trying to do their best to be supportive.
Yeah, I mean, I talk about that all the time with my caregivers, because someone comes up to you and says, "What can I do to help you?" And the caregiver says every time, "I'm okay," which is further,
that's right. That's the sort of go-to default reaction.
I'm good.
Yeah,
which is furthest from the truth. And then what happens is, after they ask you 3 or 4 times, and they stop asking you because they don't want to get in your space. And then you're all home at night crying, "I have to do this all by myself," because you said no to everyone that wanted to help you.
Exactly.
But it's hard. It's hard to
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah. It's hard to accept help. It's hard to ask for help. But it does take a village, and there are people that want to help you. So caregivers, please. And if someone's listening to this and you want to help a caregiver and you don't know how to do it, just do BOGO. When you go to the supermarket, just do BOGO and bring the stuff over to their house, because everybody needs toilet paper and paper towels and whatever else they got. And that can mean a big deal to somebody.
Right, can of tomatoes in the fridge or in the back of the cupboard.
Yeah.
Box of macaroni, whatever. Yeah, absolutely.
How did your community support you during this time?
They were wonderful. My first Zoom call was actually the night that Ben went into the hospital, and it amazes me now to think that there was ever a time that I didn't know how to do Zoom. Like, I can't imagine a time when I didn't know how to read. It's just such a basic part of my day anymore.
Yeah.
So I was able to talk with friends and family that way. Our kids were scattered all over the country, so they couldn't come be helpful. But our local neighbors were also amazingly wonderful with just dropping flowers by.
Yeah.
Or if I went for a walk, I'd come home and find a hot meal on my kitchen table.
Yeah.
One friend, her COVID coping mechanism was to cook constantly, and she would cook too much because she lived alone.
Yay!
She would appear with things that could either go straight on my table or into my or into my freezer for future reference. So it was it was really quite amazing and wonderful.
That is amazing. So let's talk a little bit about how you made it through. How did your relationship change? What's going on now?
Yeah, good question. Yeah.
Now he is doing so well that on occasion he annoys the daylight. And it's really wonderful and miraculous.
Life is good.
We have a tendency to do that.
Yeah, life is good. We are incredibly lucky. People have always described him as being like Tigger and Winnie the Pooh, or the ever-ready Energizer Bunny.
Mm-hmm.
And there were several years there where he was neither. But he's back to that. He's got a hitch in his step. He got his hip replaced 2.5 months after he got out of the hospital from the heart transplant. And then he had to learn to walk again. But now when we have, on occasion, we exchange sharp words with each other. And when that happens, if one of us can stop and take a breath, and if there happens to be a staircase nearby, we just walk over and walk up 1 or 2 steps and go, "Hey, look at me doing reciprocal steps," which was the day he could do reciprocal steps, which is 1 step right after the other without having to stop in between, was just such a landmark for us. And it puts everything in perspective to realize, in the scheme of things, we are just so incredibly blessed and lucky.
Well, what does he think about the book?
He's been very supportive. It's a little hard for him and our sons. It triggers a little bit of PTSD.
Yeah.
But they understand why I wrote it. And Ben's feeling is if it inspires just one more person to put organ donation on their driver's license, and one more family is able to be saved that way, that will have been worth it. It's just amazing. A good friend of ours is a cardiac surgeon. He's up in Hartford, and he was sort of on speed dial as I was going through the darkest times of this. And his reaction upon reading the book was, I've been doing this for 30 years. And to actually be a part of the two of you, he thinks of Ben as being like a brother, gave me a whole different perspective on I walk into the OR and I do my thing, but then there's the family and friends component of it, and it's one thing to read about it. It's another and to study it and to know about it, and it's a totally different thing to experience it.
Experience it, and then experience it through a friend. That's even one more level up there. So if you could go back and give yourself advice before Ben got sick, what would you share with our caregivers?
I would say you can get through anything. You just need to believe in yourself. I was ready for him. I think it's so easy to say this again. I think I was ready to lose him. I was preparing to lose him. But I had gotten my head into a place where I truly believe that all is well and all will be well, no matter which way this goes. And the other really important thing is we tend to think of life as bullet points, the graduations and the weddings and the babies and the promotions, but life is really all the moments in between. And it sounds so cliche to say this, but
it's true.
Rejoice and be glad for this day and whatever blessings it may bring. That, and I'd ask everybody to consider being an organ donor. Our lives would not be where we are if a family in what has to have been their darkest moments didn't turn their tragedy into our miracle.
And it's such a simple thing to do. So you're in the Poconos now?
We bounce between the Poconos and the Berkshires. Yeah.
Nice.
The grandchildren are up in the Berkshires. Yeah.
Lynn, my co-host here, she used to have a hotel in the Poconos.
Oh, you guys were telling me
Yeah,
that.
we were just talking about that before the show. We had some fun times up there in the Poconos. Yeah.
Excellent.
Excellent.
Yeah, my husband and I both, our grandparents ended up there in the 40s, and we had met, Ben and I had met in northwestern Massachusetts and been dating for 6 months before we ever let on that part of our lives.
Wow.
Oh, that's weird.
Kind of like the original undisclosed location. We didn't share it until we were ready to, I trust you. I will share that I spend my time in the Poconos. And our grandparents were 20 minutes apart.
Wow. Where were you on, Lynn?
Yeah.
Where was it?
Route 611 in Tannersville.
611. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today,
Tannersville.
Sarah.
Thank you.
Where can our listeners find you and your book?
It's available on Amazon. There's hardcover, there's Kindle, and now there's an audio version as well. Or your local bookseller should be able to find a copy for you as well.
I'm holding it up to the cameras.
I have to say, I found you very genuine, and it was very nice. I mean, what a great opportunity to listen to you and hear your story.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, my new friend. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. And I appreciate what you're doing for caregivers. That's a really wonderful service. I wish I'd realized it was around when I was in the thick of it.
Yeah, me too. All right. Thank you. Have a delicious day. And now it's time to hear from our wonderful partners, because you know the deal. If you don't hear from them, you don't hear from me. So don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 888-478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
Sean W. Scott has been practicing elder law and qualifying clients for Medicaid for over 30 years. While his practice is in all areas of estate planning, such as durable power of attorney, healthcare surrogates, and wills, he also prides himself on having a 100% accuracy rate on getting clients approved for Medicaid. Why Medicaid, you may ask? Do you want to pay up to $16,000 a month for a nursing home should the time come? Obviously, no one wants to have to endure this cost. So even though you may have planned well for retirement, the reality is things happen. Planning ahead is never too soon. You need to make sure your income and assets are protected so that you can take care of you and your loved ones. Florida law is very specific on how and what is protected and how to protect it. Give Sean a call. He can help. 727-539-0181. That's 727-539-0181.
My mom was getting older, but she was able to live pretty independently until recently. When her case manager told me she would be discharged from rehab in just a few days, I didn't know what to do. But I knew for sure that she couldn't go back living alone at home. So that's when I contacted Sunway's Senior Living Concierge. My Senior Living Concierge, Lisa, was there for me through the whole process and was a free service for us to compare in-home care options and how that cost would compare to assisted living. With Lisa's help, we found a great new home for Mom, and she is thriving. Take it from me. Don't go through this journey alone.
Hi, I'm Ellie Baldwin, co-founder and president of Sunway's Senior Living Concierge. We're a free placement and concierge service for families to help compare senior living communities and find the best place for you or a loved one. Call us today at 727-314-6451 or find us online at sunwaysseniorliving.com.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
And we're back. Well, she was fabulous. I love chatting with Sarah. I love her mission. And he's still alive. And they made it through.
And doing great, by the way, right? We're talking a lot. He's a energy, what is it?
Energizer Bunny.
Yeah.
So, Didier and I met, like 20 years ago in some networking group.
It was a networking group, yeah.
I was there networking around town, and someone reintroduced us recently, and we're going to talk about reverse mortgages, because I know years ago it was like...
It would be called taboo.
Yeah,
right.
Bad, scary, don't. They're going to take your house.
Right. Yeah, exactly correct, right? All that.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about our reverse mortgage.
Well, the first thing is, what is a reverse mortgage? That's the first question we should ask. Reverse mortgage is actually an FHA loan, just so you know. But a reverse mortgage allows the borrower, the homeowner, not to make mortgage payments. They have to pay taxes and insurance, which you can also get that put in there, but let's just leave that alone and not get complicated.
Okay.
So if you have a home and you have a mortgage, or if you want a line of credit, you can get a reverse mortgage. And that is getting beneficial more and more with retirees, because on a reverse mortgage, there's no mortgage payments. You can get an equity line. It's called a HECM. And the unused portion actually grows every year. It gets bigger, meaning if you have a $100,000 HECM and you've only used 30, you have the 70 that can actually grow, like go higher, like you can get more money. Now let's talk about a line of credit at a bank. If we go into a depression or a recession, what do they do to lines of credit?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. This is not that case. So it gives the opportunity for the homeowner to not have that payment, because we know that the government's printing $1 trillion every 100 days. That means the cost of everything's going which direction?
Crazy.
Up.
And for seniors, it's so difficult.
Right.
There are seniors that are not eating so they can pay for their meds, or not taking their meds because they're eating.
And we're sitting here, and you mentioned both of your spouses have passed away. So that burden's onto you. So I'm finding a lot of the women whose husband have passed away, that husband, there's less benefits after he passes.
Right.
So meaning that's less money to pay the mortgage payment.
Right. Exactly.
I can't tell you how many women that own their homes free and clear, and they have Social Security and a very little something coming in.
Right.
It's not sustainable.
No, how can you pay your taxes? How can you pay your insurance? How can you pay your electric?
In the example of the refinance that I did last month, paid off a first mortgage, had a $150,000 line of credit. She wanted to use $30,000 for the home improvements, the roof, the air conditioning. So she's doing that. Now, if she leaves that other $120,000 alone, I said, don't worry about it. If you don't need it, don't touch it.
Don't use it.
And so she has that available, but that 120 will grow next year, like maybe to 120.
And that 30 grand is going to help her on stuff she needs, her air conditioning.
That's correct. So that's how the reverse mortgage can help. But we're going to get into more about on the reverse mortgage, what happens? And you got those questions for me. So how can it help you? Well, no mortgage payments, taxes and insurance, but yes, you can have it. And you can do it different ways. You can actually get payments. You can have a line of credit. So there's certain things that you can do. Pay off a first mortgage, pay off your debt, things of that nature.
How long have you been doing reverse mortgages?
A long, long time. I've been doing mortgages for 38 years, but I've been really getting the reverse mortgages probably for really realistically last 3 years because I see the demand happening.
Yeah.
I noticed after 2020 when they were printing, 10, $12 trillion, I knew we were going to have a problem. You can't print money and not expect things to go up in price. And that's what we're experiencing today. And I have to tell you, what I love about reverse mortgages, when I do a forward mortgage, that is, FHA, VA, conventional, everything's electronically done. I never meet the borrower. So what's really great is, but I see them today. Like I had a closing right before I got here. I go to my closings because I like to have that connection.
Yeah.
Because I talk to them on the phone, we do everything. But on a reverse mortgage, I go meet them at their home. I will not send them electronically because most of them don't know how to do anything.
No, they don't want it.
They don't know how to scan an email. I don't do any of that. And what I do is I always require the person I'm doing a reverse mortgage, it has to be how old and older? Do you know the age?
No.
62 and older.
Okay.
So
we're not there yet.
No, I looked at you. You guys are candidates for this program. So, the thing is, it's like I always have a child, a relative on the call if they're not in town. I always make sure they're a part of it. It's amazing how things have flipped. When I do a first-time home buyer in their 20s,
the parents are on.
I always make the parents be involved. Now I'm doing
the children.
I'm having the children involved.
I know.
I don't want anything. So the one I did, the son, one of the sons was in New York. So I had him on there. And I'm in the home, and he goes, I explained everything to him. He goes, "Nah, go forward." I said, "You can't get off the call." He goes, "What do you mean?" "I'm in the house with your mom. You don't know me. You're staying in here until I leave. You're on the loudspeaker, and I'm going to go through every page, and you're with me until that door locks and I say goodbye."
He's like, "All right."
And that was really cool. And then he planned a trip with his family down to Disney. He goes, "Can you close this week?" I said, "I'll get it closed," so he could be at the closing. It was really phenomenal.
That's
so I had him there,
nice.
so it was really nice to go.
Well, and I think people, the fact that you'll come to their home
You have to.
is a big deal.
Right. And the other thing I want to share is not only do about refinances, let's talk about a purchase for a moment.
Okay.
So I have a closing on Monday in Homosassa. Now that's an hour's drive.
I love saying Homosassa.
Homosassa.
Yeah.
Right? I go scalloping. That's my gig. I go out there scalloping. So I'm going to the closing there. They had $300,000 to work with. Where are you going to find a house for $300,000? Anybody?
Yeah.
Couldn't find it. And I told the realtor, and I said, "What about a reverse mortgage?" I go, "Let me talk to them, and then we can go back." So I talked to the borrowers, and I said, "Listen, what about a reverse mortgage? Why don't you find the home that you want and maybe not burn all $300,000? You're on Social Security, a small pension. We'd like to have some money left over."
Yeah.
So they bought a $402,000 home, the home that they want, that they're comfortable with, not having to sacrifice, and they're going to have $46,000 left over to that $300,000. So they have a reverse. Now, what are they responsible for? We made taxes and insurance. They don't have a mortgage payment. And he was telling me, what happens if I die?
Yeah.
I said, "Well, are you losing benefits?" He goes, "Yes, you'll get less benefits."
Right.
Well, I said, "How's she going to make a mortgage payment if I do a $150,000 loan, taxes and insurance, and that?" He goes, "Well, she won't." So I'll get to the next part when we get there, but they had the reverse mortgage, got the home that they wanted, so they could be in the home and be there.
And he doesn't have to worry.
And really, that's what you have going on. So you ask the main question. Maybe I'm doing a good talk here today. Maybe I'm convincing you and maybe listeners out there. But guess what? Let's not trust Didier. You have to take a government class. You are required to take a class before you can move forward on a reverse mortgage.
The client has to,
The
or you have
borrower
to?
has to take the class.
Okay.
So let's talk about the people that I'm closing on Monday. I said, "Listen, do me a favor. It's $190. Take the class." And so they took the class. They called me back and goes, "Wow,
We learned.
We're ready to go forward." And 3 weeks later, we're closing. So the great news is you have to take a class. And I also asked the relatives of the borrower, whether it's a refi or a purchase, to join in on the call. So like on the refi I did last month, I went through all the paperwork, but I said, "I want you to double check me to make sure I'm telling you everything is up." these questions, and they asked every question in the class, and so they were powerful at that because then they had confirmation.
Right, and they feel secure that they're making a good decision, especially for mom and dad.
And people go, well, I own my house free and clear. Okay, so let's think about it. You're going to go ahead and live off your Social Security middle income, and you own your home free and clear. But when you're dead, last time I checked, you're pretty dead. And what happens then? You sacrificed living the best
life you could live.
Best life you can live. Your kids in this economy that we're in, are they able to help you today?
All right. So the big deal is years ago, I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my house. Let's have that conversation.
I like that one. There you go.
That's everybody. That's the big question.
Let's do it. We're going to do the best case, and we're going to do the worst case. Right. Are you ready for it?
Yeah, I'm ready.
The people that had the house, they got a $400,000 402 home. They got a mortgage on it for $158,000. Okay. Let's go. They're in their 72 years old. Let's go. They live 30 more years. Let's go with that. Okay.
All right.
We get to 102. They both pass away. Well, on the home, they have a will. So the will goes to the kids. So the kids get the house, and we're going to look at two scenarios. Remember, we had a $400,000 home owing $158,000.
Right.
Well, if you don't have to make a mortgage payment, what happens to the interest on the loan every month? It gets added on
to the end,
the mortgage.
Right.
So it goes bigger. So let's take an example. Let's say, good news. Let's say 30 years from now, that house is worth $1 million. Let's say they owe not $158,000, they owe $400,000. Right? The interest added up over 30 years. They owe $400,000. Let's use that number. Well, guess what? The lender gives them up to a year to make a decision, or get in the process of doing it.
Right.
They can refinance the home and keep it, or they list it. Every 90 days, they check with you.
So they made $600,000.
Sell the home or refinance it. But now let's go the opposite way. I want to be negative Nate for a moment. They owe $400,000 on the home. The house is only worth $100,000, right? $100,000. Now these people just inherited a home, the kids, and they're $300,000 upside down.
Yeah.
The word is called non-recourse loan. Here, bank, take the keys. We don't want it. There's no foul is done. No bad news, nothing bad on credit, nothing bad to the heirs. They just give the keys back. It's called the non-recourse loan. So those are what you have.
I bet you a lot of people don't know about that.
They don't know about that. It's a non-recourse loan. But we know, what if prices of houses done? Now we know what comes up must come down, but everyth's a cycle. So maybe someone had an experience with someone.
And it goes way up. It only comes down a little.
I have a realtor friend. His parents had a house in North Clearwater Beach, and it was upside down. Gave them back the keys, right? But those are the things. You don't have to worry about the shorts. Here are the keys, non-recourse loan. So great opportunities for these people right now with inflation and everything kicking in. And caregivers, let's think about it. You're taking care of someone and you hear, I don't have any money. I don't know if I can go forward.
Yeah.
I'm talking about maybe the HECM, the line of credit can be used for caregivers. It could be used for the medical. It could be used for procedures. And I'm 62, but at 65, you get Medicare, but does it cover all the things? If something gets, I don't know, but I'm hearing stories now.
No, it doesn't.
So if you get things cut off, how do you pay for it? How can you get it taken care of? Maybe you have to use the equity in the home. And I don't really think heirs, I know you want to get the house and get the equity in the home, but if you can't help and pay for them and give them all they need, they have to survive. And like I was going to work with one lady, she wouldn't call, but she refused. And what this is it. When you're dead, last time I checked, you're dead. Why not use the equity in your home? You have a 401k. Does the 401k stay at that number? Does the IRA stay at that number? Do you use that to use it until maybe your last breath, the last dollar you use is done? I think you need to take care of the times that we're in. And really what I'm trying to tell you is that things aren't going to get cheaper right now.
No.
Not when you're printing $1 trillion every 100 days and it's not stopping.
Okay, but what happens? Okay, so I took a reverse mortgage, my husband and I, and everything's going dandy. And but now I think this house is too big for us.
I love that question because that was what I said to the people that I'm closing on Monday. I said, listen, you're moving to Homosassa. You're right here, right now in Pinellas County. Let's say you don't like it there. Let's say after a year, let's pack up and go. I don't want to be here. Or the house is too big. Or I don't like the area. We made a mistake. Well, you put your house on the market. you sell it. You've only added on a year of interest. It's only that much.
Right.
So instead of 158 no interest, maybe you'll like 170, 168, 160,
Right.
whatever it may be,
Right.
right? So you have that as well. So you sell the house, you get the proceeds and go do the next thing that you want.
Okay.
But I want to make some great examples. Staying in your home, I think, is key from all my reading. My website is DDAmortgage.com, www.DDA. I have a blog, little mini articles. People are living longer staying in their homes
Heck yes.
versus going into some, and I'm not putting down assisted living.
No.
They're incredible. But a lot of people are living longer being there. They got their dog, their cat,
Yep.
their surroundings, their home. Everything they have is there. So there could be some real value in staying in your home where you're there and why
That you're
leave?
comfortable with, that you know,
That
that
you've
you,
been
you
there.
have your privacy, that
Right.
it's, and so myself, so I'm 70 and I'm having my bathroom done over because I want that tub out because I don't want to fall down.
Right.
So I'm preparing to age there.
Right.
And I think that's what probably a lot of your clients need to do. So if we're going to stay in this house, let's borrow some money and let me get that bathroom done over. Or let me have that doorway widened.
Right.
Or the
Well, let me-
elevator going up the stairs.
Whatever
Right.
it
Right.
might need so I can still stay in my house, but bring in things that are going to help me stay in my house.
Right. So I think when our caregivers out there and seeing people in need, it might be a great opportunity for them to help them so that they can continue with the medical care, things that they need to stay in their home and have that happen. Right. And then, like we said, you can sell the home. And the misconception is the bank owns the home. They only have a lien against your home. You are entitled to your home and you have a will, which I encourage you to have a will
Yes.
so that you can give it to the people that you want to give it to. And I think that would be great for them to know that you are taken care of. And what a burden. I mean, look at the job losses and things that are
Yep.
going on.
Yep.
Everybody is under financial strain to a degree. I was reading an article that a family of 4 needs to make $177,000 a year to
Survive.
survive. And one last thing I'd like to say on
All
that.
right, you got time.
I looked at my income in 23 and I compared it to 2014. In 2014, I told my wife, I said, we had 2 kids with Florida prepaids, 2 kids with braces. I said, I had a car payment and we took $15,000 vacations. We don't have any of that. And we're just making it on that same income
that
from
crazy?
14. That is 10 years later.
Yeah.
That is nuts.
Yeah.
And my business is predicated on interest rates.
Yeah.
So when the rates are low, it's a different game than rates are higher.
Yeah.
So, and then also what you need to know is what we do is we find out your age, your date of birth, the value of your home, and we can tell you what you can get on that home.
Okay.
So, and it's not done by normal income like your tax returns and things like that. It's by residual income. They have a calculation that they use for a reverse mortgage. And so,
And the age again is 62.
62, that's
Okay,
correct.
so I'm 62 years old and I have a house.
Jewish.
And and I have a
You got to
house.
spill the beans
And
earlier.
it's paid off for, right?
Yeah.
Well, I could take a reverse mortgage and I could add on a mother-in-law suite for my mom.
Mhm.
So my mom wouldn't have to leave her house.
Fabulous.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of other ways you could leverage it
Right.
to work to your benefit.
Right. I was thinking myself, right? This is me. So I have a house and I'm thinking when I'm 66 or so and I retire, why wouldn't I put a reverse mortgage on there? I got income coming in. I could take a smaller unit in the house, rent out the other side of the house maybe. I'm just thinking out loud if I had the major.
yeah.
Have rental income, reverse mortgage, and travel in an RV and do stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking, why wouldn't I do that? Why wouldn't I enjoy my best life?
Exactly.
Right?
I just heard on the news this morning that people in retirement need $310,000 for health care till the end of their life.
It's crazy. My
It is crazy.
insurance has unbelievably skyrocketed, and I'm on a 3-year fixed plan, meaning I have that plan for 3 years at 62. But guess what? It went up 20% last year, and it's going to go up 20% at the end of this year. But that's a 3-year plan, and
I went to get glasses yesterday, a new pair of glasses,
Yep.
because I have cataracts, but they're not ripe enough. So I'm ready to pair of glasses
Right.
and a pair of sunglasses. Over $1,000.
Wow.
No way.
Yeah.
So I would like to say something else.
Wow.
Single
Yeah.
family homes, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Single, you can get 2 actually for 1.
Well, I did get covered by some of my insurance,
Okay,
but
good.
that's what the cost was.
Isn't that crazy? So one of the things, what kind of homes? Single family homes. We can do townhome, PUDs, villa. And then people are going to say condos. But remember, I told you in the very beginning of this episode, a reverse mortgage is what? It is a
FHA.
Right. So the condo project has to be FHA approved. You can do what they call a spot approval, but I haven't been successful at this point. When you have an approved condo, then you got a gold mine there. Because what's going on with condos? Anybody know?
No.
Tell me. I have one.
Association fees are going. I'm telling you.
Well, it's the same as manufactured homes. They're
Association fees are going up, aren't they?
Yep.
crazy.
Hey, what
yeah.
about like assessments? Are they coming yet?
Yep.
What about your master policy for insurance?
Yeah.
Everything, every
everything
insurance
So if you
went
have a
up
condo,
this year.
I approved. Again, approved. We can always check when you call me and see if it's approved. That would be your home run. I mean, that would really be your home run. And condos especially. What about all the elderly people down on Indian Rocks and all the way down there? Think about that for a moment. All the assessments, all the insurance is going up on fixed income, Social Security. What are they going to do?
Right.
I moved off the beach because of that, because of the assessments.
Right?
And should that be what you have your retirement for?
Right.
I
So
want to be having a good time. I don't have to be worried about money. I don't have to be worried about my house.
I hope this was helpful, like an educational standpoint for everyone.
Yeah,
because
very.
People really need to understand that it's not taboo. You own the home, and these are your latter years. Do you really want to just have to? And the one lady I closed
don't wanna
last month,
survive. I
she
wanna
was just
thrive.
just paying the interest payments. You know, like paying nothing, getting ahead, nothing, can't go anywhere, couldn't do anything, and she didn't want to. And a lot of people don't want to burden the kids that can help. They don't want to burden their kids.
No.
They don't want to ask their kids.
No.
They refuse. They don't want to ask. And
We're living so much longer now, and
Right.
we didn't save enough money because we thought we had enough money to live, but nobody thought they were going to live to 95.
and nobody really expected what's going on
Well,
at
just
this
the
particular
prices.
time.
Exactly.
I look at life as a snapshot in time. This snapshot of time is kind of a hard one regards to inflation, the cost of everything, right? Think about that for a moment. I think that, you know, you have the option, but I think it's going to become a necessity to do that. And and it's just a phone call. And remember, I'll never do your loan unless we have a family member be a part
And
of
I
it.
think that's so important. And just because the second set of ears, like I say, don't go to the doctors unless you bring somebody with you.
Right.
You know, I remember taking my mother to the doctor. The doctor said cancer. I never heard one word after that he said.
Right.
So it's always good to have somebody else with you, and especially if you have a family member, because now they get it and they can explain it to the sister, because maybe mom can't explain it as clearly or whatever.
And I told you, the class is incredible. Everyone that takes
I like that idea of the class.
Everyone that takes the class, they come out, they're sold. And that class will tell you, if it doesn't make sense, they'll tell you it doesn't make
Will
sense.
Tom Selleck be there?
Won't I do?
Yeah.
In a pinch.
So yeah, but the class is mandatory. And if they don't think it makes sense, they'll tell you point blank, it does not make sense.
All right. Where can our listeners find you?
They can find me at just the initials, ddamortgage.com. Real simple. My name's Didier, Didier. It's ddamortgage.com. Go to my blog, get educated, look at my reviews, and see what you see
And give
on
them
there.
a call.
Thank you very much, by the way. I'm honored that you guys had
You're
me
welcome.
today.
You're
And I really
welcome.
had a hoot, by the way.
I'm
Great
glad.
time.
Now it's time to hear from our wonderful partners, so don't go away. We'll be right back on Connecting Caregivers Radio.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
Choosing the right chiropractor is an important choice to make. Located in Seminole, the Alexander Spine Center team is trained on the latest chiropractic treatments and technologies. At Alexander Spine Center, you'll find chiropractic and physical therapy care that is safe, effective, and a natural approach to pain and other health-related issues. Chiropractic unlocks your body's potential and natural healing process to ensure your life is a healthy life. We treat clients from the womb to the tomb. Call 727-397-3000 for a free consultation today, or visit our website at www.alexanderspinecenter.com.
They take good care of me twice a week, so check them out.
Arden Courts is not just a place to live. It's a place to call home. Residential living combined with quality caregiving. This is the philosophy behind Arden Courts. Communities created exclusively for individuals with Alzheimer's disease and related dementia who would benefit from a safe and structured environment. For additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides, call 478-2410 to locate a community nearest you. Inquire about our educational seminars, resource library, or support groups, or simply feel free to ask questions you may have about Alzheimer's and related dementias. At Arden Courts, we know, we understand, and we can help because memory care is all we do. Remember, call 888-478-2410 for additional information about any of the unique services Arden Courts provides.
We believe the power of the human body and mind can do amazing things, and that tapping into that power, not just tricking it with a temporary disguise, is possible. Superpatch technology uses a special pattern and vibrotactile technology to help you go from feeling blah to hurrah. Now, once the Superpatch is in contact with your skin, it triggers a neutral response in the brainstem that helps you tackle your daily problems head on. Whether you're struggling with pain, balance, stress, or focus, we have a solution that might be right for you. With Superpatch's 30-day money-back guarantee, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain.
Hi, this is Linda Burhans, the gal who cares for the caregivers. I started using the Liberty Patch over 3 years ago. I used to be a tripper, but since wearing the Liberty Patch, I haven't tripped once. The Liberty Patch is proven to reduce the risk of falling by up to 8 times. And as we all know, if you prevent the fall, you prevent the call. Don't wait until it's too late. Preventative solutions are the answer.
Superpatch does not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure illness. Superpatch is FDA registered. To receive 25% off your first order, go to sticktoit.info. That's sticktoit.info and learn more.
This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
So you guys know how much I love that Superpatch. So yesterday I was in my most famous Japanese restaurant, Jimmy's Sushi. And my regular waitress came over and she said, "Oh, Linda, my arm hurts so much I can hardly lift the dishes to carry them to the table." I said, "Would you like to try one of these pain patches?" And we put a pain patch on her, and 15 minutes later, she's at the table. I can move my arm. I can lift my arm. I can do this. So it's really good stuff. We have some great events coming up. Remember, I have a live support group the second Friday of every month at Arden Courts in Seminole. And if you need respite care for your loved one, you can bring your loved one as long as you call them ahead of time so that your loved one can be entertained in another room and you can come to the support group. Arden Courts has Unlocking Hope with Eileen Poley from USF Bird Institute. May 29th, 11 to 1. All this information will be on the calendar on my website. Decisions and Dilemmas, Answers to Common Caregiver Questions, Wednesday the 5th, 10:30 to 1. And that will be in Palm Harbor. The first one's in Largo. And the last one is June 6th in Seminole. Memory Concerns. All these are free. Please feel free to go to my website under events and you'll find that information. Also, Painting for a Cause to raise money for Alzheimer's. You can join Arden Courts and the Preserve at Clearwater for a fun night of painting. I'm going to go there where you can have some wine and hors d'oeuvres and paint and just donate some money to the Alzheimer's Association. Thank you so much for being with us this week. The show just flies by before you know it. I really appreciate you, caregivers. If you need anything, you can contact me through my website. If I don't have the answer, I'll find someone who does. Remember, God loves you all the time, and have a delicious day.